Yep. Today is the day that we are going to record or begin the recordings of all of the 78 cards, the card meanings. We're very excited. We have a plan of how it's going to go, but who knows? Who knows?
It's tarot, where our intuition might take us in weird places.
Exactly. So I will just say that we made the decision. We're going to start off with the wands. Yeah, and we're going to sort of like this first video is just going to be a little introduction to the suit of wands, what the wands are all about in general, from as far as we're concerned. So I'll hand over to you, Sharon, on this, and you can kick it off. Yeah.
Wands are a little tricksy beasts because there are two ways of seeing them, and they can be seen as fire or air depending on how you learned the tarot. We're not going to tell you either is wrong. Mandy and I are predominantly wands are for fire,
Yes.
but they started out as air because fire was considered to be the most destructive element, and the swords were seen as the most destructive suit. But fire is also passion, it's drive, it's initiative, and that really, really reflects what the wands are. So Mandy and I are predominantly fire.
Yeah. I was just saying to Sharon before we started this, for me to get my head around, and there are some decks of cards, as Sharon was sort of saying, where they have clearly, the artwork has clearly made the suit of wands air, and the suit of swords fire. For me to get my head around that would be like driving on the wrong side of the road. I am so used to thinking of wands as fire. I actually feel it would confuse me. I don't know. I've got a couple of decks that kind of lend themselves to the other way around, and I've not actually even tried to do readings with them, to be honest, but perhaps I
think
should.
the way we read, because we do lean on the art so much for our
Yes.
interpretations and our intuition, I think the way you read, you'd be fine with it, just as long as while you're reading decks that either don't delineate air and fire or are traditionally rider waite, then you always stick to what you started with. Don't flip-flop around unless the art screams at you that it's obviously air in the wand suit.
Yeah.
So,
and like you said, Sharon, the universe knows what sort of a reader you are. So if you are the type of reader that thinks of fire, what wands as fire, yeah, just stick with that, because that's what the universe is expecting of you, and it's going to send you a wands card because it kind of knows you'll have that fire vibe kind of going on.
right. Right. Be consistent. Be consistent. Yeah. Unless the art's screaming at you, then you definitely read the deck you're using. Yes. Otherwise, just be consistent.
But I think the suit of wands, for me, is very, like you said, it's very enthusiastic. It's very vibrant. It's got a lot of life in it. It's not a kind of like it's not relaxed at all. It's very, very kind of like active, and I do think it can be like creative.
Yes.
Yeah, it can. It does, to me, show energy, and kind of like in reverse. Often, not always, it will show a kind of like a lack of energy, or the energy is kind of like being taken out of the situation. I just feel, you strike a match, you strike a match, and suddenly you have something that wasn't there before, and then you blow the match out, it's gone. And I just think that little thing is the kind of like the basis of the whole fire thing for me.
Yes. Yes. In fact, a match would be an amazing picture for the Ace of Wands.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I learned it as spirit when I was about 16, and there are some schools that teach wands as spirit. And at 16, I was not very well developed in spirituality. I had confused religion with spirit. So it tripped me up a lot to be like, why are these religious cards in my reading? If you're learning it as spirit, um, even spirit is a spark. It's the spark that drives you, the spirituality that drives you to do
Yeah.
something. So just don't get it confused with religion like I did. And
Right.
took a long time for me to grow out of that too, because I was raised super Christian. And but mainly it's passion, it's drive, and I don't it can be sexual passion, but
Yeah.
not limited to sexual passion. It
No.
can be passion, like passion I have for the tarot, passion that we have for astrology, passion that I have for gemology, things that drive you, things that motivate you, things that get you moving. It's a lot of action involved in the
I was
wand.
just going to say that I think it's a very active suit. It to me, it is when I get a reading and I get a lot of ones in it, I will definitely hear myself saying, "This is all very doable, but you do have to actually do it. You have to actually kind of like make it happen. You have to go and do it. It's not passive. It's not just sort of sit there and, oh, this is being sent to you and this is being sent to you. None of that with the wands. It's all like, you know, if you want it, you've got to make it happen. You've got to do it. I hear that a lot coming out of my mouth with wands.
I'm really glad you said that because if you get a spread that is predominantly wands, you do want to tell your client, hey, get up and go. Get up
Yeah.
and do this. It's not just going to happen by you just wishing. You've got to make it happen. That's
Yes.
perfect. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's very to me it sits very well with manifestation, which again, manifestation to me is not a passive thing. It's not the secret. It's not just sit there and wish all the right things and it'll all happen to you. It's actually go and do the right things and then wait and see kind of like how that kind of like will play out for you. I
Yeah,
think it's very empowering, the suit of wands.
absolutely. Definitely empowering. uh, Probably one of the most empowering suits there is because it gives you actionable things to go out and do. It tells you really what you need to be physically doing.
Yeah, yeah. And it is like astrologically speaking, it is a masculine energy. And masculine, I mean, I don't want to be sexual here, and obviously in this day and age with genders and all that sort of thing, but the masculine energy is the giver, whereas the feminine energy is the receiver. So it is the giver, it is the outward expression of energy, as opposed to the kind of like the inward. And
Yes.
both are essential and both are important and both are empowering in different ways, but this is very outgoing.
Yeah, it's like the super masculine fire is.
Yeah.
So, and what that too means is like don't think of the words because it's also called positive. But don't think of it as positive as good, just good, as opposed to negative for the feminine. We can't really take those words into context. We've got to think of it as outward going, outward moving, somebody that goes and gets what they want, as opposed to somebody who sits back and waits for what they want. That's all it is.
Also, yeah, I also think that the fire signs in astrology, such, you know, like there's three fire signs: Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are the three fire signs. But the sun rules Leo, and the sun is the giver of light. You know, and it's um when the moon is the receiver of light. The moon does not emit its own light. The moon reflects the light that has been given by the sun. And we live with that on a day-to-day basis. Everybody does, right? You know, it's as simple as that. There is a moon in the sky, and sometimes it's big and full and bright, and that is because it's the opposite side of the earth to the sun and the sun is hitting it, the sun is giving it all its light head on. And so the moon is receiving it in full. And it's exactly the same with masculine and feminine, and the giver of seeds, the receiver of seeds. It's the male that give the seeds, the women that kind of, you know, carry the babies. I mean, that's nature. And I'm not trying to be politically incorrect here or anything like that. I'm just going by basic sort of like nature. It's built in to astrology. And everything suggests to me that the fire energy is represented by the wands. I mean, it just kind of works for me. You know, even the kind of like some of the cards, they look hot. They look like they're in hot places, you know.
Yes. Yes.
But that's wrong for me to say that the people that subscribe to the swords being the fire energy, because some of the swords cards are quite aggressive. I can see that aggression there, but I'm comfortable with wands being fire for me.
I am too. But if you do read with swords as fire, we're not telling you you're wrong. Just be consistent. That's all. The tarot is incredibly hard to learn because no hard fast rules, and a lot of us are hardwired. We need hard fast rules. Find out what's most comfortable for you, and you know, it's a very personal thing, so experiment at first, but when you see what works for you, what gives you accurate results, consistent results, then you decide on your own. Don't let anybody tell you no, this is the only way it can be, because they're full of it.
Definitely. And again, you know, we don't want people every single time they turn over a wands card that they think, oh, it's that fire energy. Like sometimes you're reading the card because you're seeing something in the picture that's got nothing to do with the element of fire or the masculine outgoing energy. It's just something in the picture in front of you triggers something within your intuition that you know is what you're supposed to say about that card and to that client at that moment in time. And it may have nothing to do with the element of fire or air or anything, you know.
I'm so glad you said that.
You don't have to read know astrology to read the tarot.
All you need to know to read the tarot is how your intuition responds to that art. And it takes practice. You'll get it. But you don't need to know numerology. You don't need to know astrology. You just need to know the world around you and your place in it. And tarot helps you learn that. And there's so much involved with every card. Each card that we talk about, each suit that we talk about, there's going to be so much information that you're going to be taking in. Don't try to cram all that information into a reading, because you will be so confused. Your client will be so confused. You take what you see at the moment relevant to what the client is asking you, and you'll be
absolutely fine. Yeah, that is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Well, that was a lovely little chat about the suit of wands, as you know, and I look forward to kind of discussing each card.
Me too. I'm excited.
Okay, so see you later, Sharon.